Hey everyone, it's Will. In this video, I wanted to just quickly share with you a small thing that successful people do differently that can make all the difference. Now, successful is a broad and general term, so it doesn't mean every successful person does this, but some do, such as Elon Musk or Richard Branson. And what they do is a simple shift in how they think. In fact, they never shifted. They were always kind of like this. It was just how they were and how they were raised. Who knows what it is? But just thinking differently makes all the difference when you compare that to an average person. So what exactly do they do? Well, the average person will probably, if they don't succeed doing something, they'll just give up, or they'll just say, well, this is just how the world works. But then you have people like Thomas Edison or Elon Musk who they'll just be like, okay, that didn't work. Let me see what else I can do. And they stay positive and they try out new things, even if it seems impossible, even if it takes them 1,000 or 10,000 failed experiments. And they do not resign themselves to a constrained model of how things work. Another huge thing is that they will go out and talk to people who are more experienced or knowledgeable in the field to get a broader perspective. So let's give you a very tangible, real example of this. So let's just take the average person. And again, I'm also generalizing here because a lot of them won't exactly act like this, but they will act similar. So let's say the average person is trying to get a job or is trying to make a certain career path possible, or they're just trying to do something new. Maybe it's to get to a higher level in their business, whatever it is. But for the sake of this instance, let's just use a career. So the average Joe, the average person, he will go into something, it doesn't work. Maybe he blasts out resumes and it's just not working. And he gets very frustrated and he just resigns himself to the idea that this is how the world is, this is how tough it is. And they resign themselves to a very constrained, rigid picture of the world, and they give up. Sometimes they get very depressed or upset with themselves and maybe resentful and angry. Now, what Elon Musk and other people will do is they're always trying to see what they can do differently. And they won't constrain themselves to something so static. And they'll look to see maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I could try something different. Maybe it's not the best thing to just blast out resumes. What am I missing? How am I doing things differently? And they will test. So I think a lot of average folk, they say they do this, but in reality they don't. I see this a lot in the dating field. And it's because, I've experienced this all myself. People say, oh yeah, I'm very strategic about my dating and I'll test everything. But in reality, they're not. It's a very smushed up little process and procedure that they do. They'll just try things maybe 3 or 4 times. They won't even count how many times they tried it. And it wouldn't work. And they're testing like 5 different things at once, so it's not even close to any type of controlled experiment, and it fails. Now that doesn't mean you go all crazy and become very statistical or analytical in your dating life or whatever, because again, you could come off too robotic. But it does mean that as humans, even if we believe that we're trying new things strategically, doesn't mean that we actually are. Consider a homeless man. I'll give you one last example and we'll call it a day. So there's a lot of homeless people or very poor salespeople in China and India. And here's the thing. The ones who are the best at what they do, they're very strategic with how they try things out. And the average person in that area or the average person here, if they were homeless, they'd just be really pissed off and mad, and they'd just be like that. But a strategic and smart homeless man or local salesperson who sells local trinkets in Asia, they would choose one thing to test, and they would test it with a large enough sample size, get results from that, and start implementing. So, for instance, they may ask you a different question initially when they try and sell you something. Maybe this week it's, can I ask you a question about your fashion? And then they'll try and lead that down a road to eventually selling something. And once they've tested that, maybe they'll test something else. Maybe it's how they come across with body language. Maybe for a month, they try being very happy and smiling, and then, having eye contact. Or the next week, they would test something like coming off very abrupt and quick and aggressive. The reality of the situation is a lot of people assume that they test when they don't. It's just a mixing of radical stuff. So I think that's incredibly interesting. Of course, you can only take it so far. I think there's certain people who just, they think you can test everything and they're very analytical and statistical about it. But I think having this framework of testing and also just thinking positive and not giving up and learning more about the picture can really lead you to a lot more opportunities. Hopefully this video helped, and it's just a little interesting thing that I picked up from my studies that I thought may be of use to you. Thanks for watching, and of course I will see you next Thursday. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below for new free weekly video updates. Thanks for watching.